Good morning, everyone. To say I'm thrilled to be here would be an understatement. I look forward to this event every year, time that we honor our 2015 National Student Poets. Don't they look good? They look good. Bow ties. They did them themselves. I want to start by recognizing a few important people who helped to make this day possible. First of all, I want to recognize Rachel Goslins. I know you always say, don't even focus on me, but we can't help it. You've done such great work. We love you. You are phenomenal, and we couldn't do this without you. Along with the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities, would all the committee members here please just stand for a second so these students know who you are. This is the committee who makes everything we do here at the Arts possible. They lend their time, their expertise, their passion, so you wouldn't be here without these folks, and they've been rock solid for me for, has it been 7 years? It's been a while. I also want to recognize the Alliance for Young Artists and Writers, the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, and of course, our good dear friend, who's back, Olivia Morgan, who has been the driving force behind this initiative right from the very beginning. So you came here. She's in San Francisco. She left us, but she's back and still working hard. Olivia, thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your work. In just 4 years, all of you, this wonderful team of people, have developed a nationally renowned program for young poets. In fact, this year's contest received over 20,000 submissions. That's just wonderful. 20,000. This is a pretty competitive pool, too, just so that you know. You weren't just given this. You competed hard for these spots. This is an incredible accomplishment, and I am so grateful to everyone for the outstanding work that makes this day possible. I also want to thank our distinguished poet, Jacqueline Woodson. Jacqueline, where are you? There you are. You're right there. We're going to hear from her later, and it's so important to have these mentors, these folks who, have really built their careers here to be able to share and give advice. So we're grateful to you for your work, for your wisdom, for your talent, and for taking the time to be here. So let's give everyone a round of applause. Forgive me, I have a cold that I've had for like 10 days now, so pardon my congestion. But most of all, I want to honor the young people that are standing with me today, our 4th class of National Student Poets. We have Chastity Hale from Miami Beach, Florida. We have Eileen Wong from Homedale, New Jersey. We have Dejan Harges from Cleveland, Ohio. David Xiang from Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah, you guys, make sure people know who you are. And we've got Anna Lance, who is here all the way from Eagle River, Alaska. She gets the prize for the furthest to travel. I'm so proud of you all, really. I truly am. And I had an opportunity to meet your families. We got a picture right before we did the pinning, so I get the feeling that your families are pretty proud of you too today, right? Let's see the parents, the mentors who all, please take a moment to stand so that we know who you are. Thank you all. But here's the thing. I just don't want you all to be surprised if the next time they miss a chore or, don't clean up after themselves, that they might not hang this little White House visit over your head. So just, But in all seriousness, the today is about celebrating these extraordinary young people, but it's also about bringing the power of poetry to kids across the country, which is why it's so important that we pull the media into this and we shine a big, bright light on this small but very talented group of young people. That's why the president and I launched this program, and as you may know, the president, your president, is crazy about poetry. And we both wanted more of our young people to experience the joy and the freedom and also the fear that comes with writing poetry, right? I mean, it's a scary proposition because there's some real fear that comes with exposing yourself in that way. It's scary to open yourself up and invite the entire world in to witness your deepest thoughts. And I don't mean to scare you to death. But it takes a level of bravery to be that vulnerable, to stand up in this room, this historic place, and these lights and cameras, and share something so personal and so precious. But that is also the beauty of poetry, how it helps you take all those complex and confusing thoughts and emotions and put them into words. I experienced this myself when I was your age, because when I was younger, I was a pretty passionate, creative writer. And I tried my hand at a little poetry too. And I know how powerful that process can be. Because growing up, you know, my family, everybody knows we didn't come from great wealth. We didn't have a lot of advantages or luxuries or things like that. But my parents always made it clear that the arts, even though they weren't educated, they knew that the arts, things like poetry and music and drama and writing, those things weren't luxuries, they were necessities. You know, no matter where you come from, they knew that we needed those experiences to feed our souls and to make us whole and complete individuals. So they did everything in their power, spent every penny they didn't have to make sure we had piano lessons. And I see the parents nodding, enrolling us in summer programs at our church where we put on plays and we do musical performances. I was actually a little fairy once and I had to sing. I wasn't a good singer, but somehow that must have done something for me in the end. My parents encouraged me to become a writer myself, so as a kid, when I was feeling anxious or bored or lonely, I would often sit down and just write and write and write, and I would get lost in that writing. You know, it helped me on so many levels to be able to pour out feelings and frustrations onto paper, and then eventually I would always feel a little better, more empowered, more in control. And like many young people, I didn't just get the emotional benefits of writing, I also got the academic benefits as well. Because as I improved my writing, just because it was fun and it was an outlet, I also improved my thinking. I was better able to organize my thoughts in class. I was better able to clearly express my ideas on paper and exams. It was second nature. And that's the power of the arts in our schools. We talk about this all the time. The arts can actually make kids better students. And we lose sight of that fact when we eliminate these kind of opportunities. This is the stuff that hooks kids in. And the evidence is crystal clear. Kids who get involved in the arts, they have higher grades, they have higher graduation rates, they have higher college enrollment rates. We could go on and on and on. So arts education isn't just a luxury that we add on after we've achieved other priorities like raising test scores and getting kids into college. And we say this every time we do an event. These are not luxuries. These are absolute necessities. It's actually critical to achieving those initial priorities in the first place. So I have an assignment for you guys, all right? And we all get this assignment, don't we? I want you all to be ambassadors for the arts, all right? You are now chosen to go out there and spread the word and to share your gift with as many people as you can. And I'm sure that you all know plenty of kids, you know, in your communities, in your families who can't even imagine being where you are today, standing in this room with all these folks. Kids who've never written a poem. You know, they've never even written down a thought, maybe even. Kids who never read great poets like Jacqueline. They don't know she exists. I want you all to find those kids in your lives, you know. Find them, seek them out. And some of you are older siblings, so you've got young people right in your own orbit who are watching you every step of the way. I want you to ask your teachers to make sure they're including poetry in their lesson plans. Be that advocate, you know, in your schools and your communities. Reach out to folks, you know, who live around you and could probably use some poetry in their lives, right? Past national student poets have shared their passion for poetry with military families, with Alzheimer's patients, with incarcerated women. This is sort of the legacy they've left, right? They've done really good work once they've left this room to keep spreading the word. And I want to be clear, you don't have to find the perfect poem to share, right? It's not really even about the perfect work. It doesn't have to be your most polished final draft. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think Chastity said it best, and this was something she said in one of her poems. She said, "We'll use every rusted coin to purchase blessings and buy plane tickets to destiny." I love that. Love that. And I promise you all that the words you share with others will be blessings, both to them and to you. And I want you all to spread those blessings. I want you to help other young people buy their own plane tickets to destiny, right? Maybe even to the White House. You may inspire the next national student poets to be standing right here. I know you all can do this. Every year we have great young people who take this pledge and go on to do some wonderful things. This is the beginning of something phenomenal for each and every one of you. And I'm so excited for you, and I don't want you to be nervous about it. I want you to feel empowered by it. You all can do this. You made it to this point. There's nothing you can't do. And you've got all these people who are so proud of you. It's such a rare gift. Treasure it, share it, make it grow even bigger. So, with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us again today. And I can't wait to hear all these young people who are going to do a few readings from their work. My favorite part. So I think I'm supposed to sit down, and you guys know everything else you're supposed to do, right? I can get out of the way. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I am Chastity Hale. I am from Miami, Florida, and I am the Southeastern poet. The piece I'm going to be reading is What If? What if? What if the raindrops get so big? They swallow the sky, she asks. Could we use the papers in the glove compartment to start a fire and illuminate the liquidated skies? We'll use every rusted coin to purchase blessings and buy plane tickets to destiny, where we will find a milk carton child and wish her home to voices tainted with. We'll find her, and it gets worse before it gets better. We'll get our names in the newspaper. What if we are happiest when we are sleeping? I'll fold your skin like origami until you are a swan or a flower, and I will place you in my pocket so that you can nestle in the warmth like a baby bird. My daughter tries to climb her way to heaven by shimmying up stalk-like tree trunks. We live in a godless place, but treat it as if there is plenty of God left in you. I tell her to roll the windows down, to love not the smell of rain, but the smell of it leaving. What if the clouds taste like peppermint patties on the train that travels over the ocean? What if it is heading to nowhere in particular? What if that is where we want to go? Thank
Hi everyone, my name's Eileen Huang. I'm from New Jersey and I'm representing the Northeast region. This is Confluence. Confluence. Tang Dynasty poems are 4 lines each. Breaks between cadences, each character a curve, iron hook, slicing black scissor slashes against textbook paper. I am no Levi, for instead of wine, I drink the laws of thermodynamics, and I pass time under the home screen of a Nokia rather than moonlight. The foot of my bed, nothing more than a scuffing of crushed cockroaches. I do not need lullabies when I can recite stanzas in my sleep. They are 4-beat, jumping voices, buzzing like dragonflies in hollow ear canals. They speak of rivers, looping islands, yellow-brown mud sloshing behind rocks in the shapes of warriors who jumped across gorges in pursuit of wild tigers. I press knees against littered plastic bags and feel them crunch like insects under bare feet. I do not need to pretend that I am standing at the edge of a river, one toe in the flowing mud, arm resting against the sandbanks. And I do not need blankets when I have the lisping voices of Su Song to sing me to sleep. Thank you.
My name is Dejan Hargis, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. This year, I will be representing the Midwest, and the poem I'm about to read is entitled Eternal Strength. This day possesses the first minute in her millions of years to come after stepping through heaven's gates, intending to live on through our hearts as a large piece of our spirits. She thanks us for deeds we haven't done yet, anticipating our better years and great-great-grandkids raised better, or as well as we were, for their sake. Not for the things I speak as she anticipates, but for the upbringing of her part of our race. Wasn't her mind incredible? Foreseeing untold scenes, pictures of hands and fingers tangled into a braid of perfected struggle. The characters she helped create consumed 4 sheets of paper. I said the characters she helped create consumed 4 sheets of paper to be read today, tomorrow, tomorrow's tomorrow, then and after, now and later, if not forever. Please, form a braid with us, hand in hand, as we share her strengths. Amen.
Hi guys. I'm David Chiang. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'll be representing the Southwest region this year. And this is Duet. Duet. They sit, arranged honeycomb style, 6 to a side every day at 5 sharp, on humid, firefly-flecked Fridays. The silence is palatable, the voices mute enough to discern Orpheus's lute echoing from the stalactites below. She sits, center stage, nose blinded and ears neglected. Her hands tremble like the nervous flutter of a hummingbird. Her fingers twitch down carved ebony, 88 paths of promise and perspiration. She listens. She smiles, as penguins do after a long swim. Mitosis passed last year, she reminds herself. He sits, still as a statue, chained to those wooden knobs and polished metal, hangdog in posture but proud in action. His mind darts from blackened circle to circle, fingers fly, the piano stays untouched, unused. He is like a phantom, they say. He is like a ghost, they say, with owl eyes. What would you like to eat? A nurse asks, smile frozen by a basilisk's glare, inwardly giggling as 4 years of a million Lincolns and salt-stained bubbles are mixing amnesia and meatballs in a nearby saucepan. Nothing, she replies. The music is all I need. Mahler or Metamorphosis will be today's main entree. She notices that the pianist is crouching quietly in the corner, the orbiting pistons cranking like the clarion of an extinct clock. A snowy grin emerges from hibernation. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm Anna Lance. I'm from Eagle River, Alaska, and I'm representing the Western region this year. This is Unfiltered. I should be happy to be here, they tell me. After all, we've got the cleanest and best tasting water in the country, thanks to the glaciers that sacrifice themselves down mountainsides while we sleep, until they fit into bottles that take 450 years to decompose. I could never stand city water, they say, as if they've ever had the chance. I should be happy to interlock with the landscape, to have fingers that curl into the scar knots of bark like we were cut from the same clay, close my eyes, put on the hat my great-aunt knit me for Christmas, and become indistinguishable from purity. Not invisible, but a part of something larger, someone's snowflake or wishing star or whatever. I tasted the tap somewhere down in Dallas, and it was like kissing sidewalk. I knew there were no glaciers in its history. No neve becoming firn, becoming ice, becoming frigid runoff boiling around my bare calves, becoming the flood that explored the counter or the sweat that bled from the pit of my chin, but I was happy. You are no one's snowflake and no one's wishing star. You are gritty with saturation and marinated in things forgotten, far more than 1 in a million, and they tell me your cell structure is at least 73% puddles, swimming pools, and sewage slurry, but that's okay. They're just jealous. Thank you.
Now I would like to introduce Ashley Gong. She's a class of 2014 National Student Poet.
Good morning. I am Ashley Gong, and I was the 2014 National Student Poet for the Northeast region. Just over a year ago, I stood here a newly pinned National Student Poet, excited for what lay ahead. I am honored to be back to share my past year. To explain the role of a National Student Poet, we have a short video to present.
Poetry matters. Poetry, like all art, gives shape and texture and depth of meaning to our lives.
Poetry has taught me that wonder is the inevitable conclusion to fear.
I think of poetry as soul talk. What I mean, it's deep talk, that soul-to-soul conversation that you gotta have with people.
Poetry to me is sort of what connects us all as individuals.
Poetry is everything.
Art changes a human being. It opens the world up.
The National Student Poets Program is the nation's highest program for recognizing original work by student poets.
The only way to be considered for this distinguished appointment is by first winning a national medal in poetry in the Scholastic Awards.
We do expect big things, and that's okay. The bar is high, but it's good to have a high bar.
The program is a combination of our investing in these bright teen poets and they're investing back into their communities.
5 students are picked from around the country. They get to be ambassadors to go around the country speaking their stories.
The National Students Poets Program is an exciting program for me to be involved with, primarily because I find to be exposed myself to a broad range of talent, a broad range of students, and also to see young students being encouraged in terms of language and in terms of creativity and expression.
We take these raw talents and invest in them, and they truly grow as people over the course of the year of their service.
The most exciting part of this program to me is the chance to work with younger kids on poetry.
What we had to do for NSPP is complete a year of service.
Spreading knowledge of poetry, holding workshops, doing outreach.
The community service project's really open-ended. The guidelines are basically just to create a project that engages new communities with poetry.
All 5 of us definitely choose a demographic or topic that holds great personal meaning to ourselves.
I thought maybe by the end of the year I would become a bit better of a poet, but I ended up becoming a better person.
The impetus for the National Students Poet Program was to use the opportunity that we had on the President's Committee as a forum to bring more student voices onto the national stage.
They work with a couple partners, the President's Committee on the Arts and the Humanities, the Alliance for Young Artists and Writers, which runs the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, and the Institute of Museum and Library Services are their 3 partners that help them find the student poets they want and give them the opportunities they get throughout the year.
We see the National Student Poets Project as one of the critical programs in engaging youth in a love of creativity, learning, literature, and poetry.
A good poem can make hard times a little easier to survive and make good times a lot sweeter.
So find our teens that have exhibited the greatest talent and the greatest interest in writing and specifically in poetry and invest in them. Treat them like they're future Olympic athletes, but athletes of the page.
Stop, stop, don't stop, stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, stop.
It's a sport, but it's a sport of the heart and the mind.
Here at the White House, we're guided by the belief that the arts can be the key to success in school and in life.
Okay, this has been the best year ever.
I thought that we could start by reading some poems.
I'm seeing that people really are receptive to poetry and want poetry in their lives. They just didn't realize that it had a place there.
And to be able to spread that sort of like the poetry in that to the community and read and like kind of bring out, you know, the poetry that it's inspired in them is something pretty magical.
But poetry does not just matter to us as individuals, it matters to us as a people.
Nomads who move against the plate tectonics, who graze the ripe syllables of words for breakfast, and who know that home is not where the heart is, but where the heart longs to go.
I think the National Students Poets Program will continue to reach and spread and inspire kids all over the country.
We need more poetry and poets in the world. And it starts locally, right in your house, in your school, in your community.
Every National Student Poet creates a service project of personal meaning, and for me, the choice was obvious. I grew up in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and attended Sandy Hook Elementary School. When the 2012 shooting happened, I wrote poems to process the devastation in my town and in my heart. And as soon as I became a National Student Poet, I wanted to share poetry's cathartic power with others in my community so it could help them the way it helped me. Last spring, I created Writing Powertree, a series of weekly poetry workshops for Newtown students. I partnered with my local library's Young Adult Council, and over 2 months, 20 middle schoolers attended 4 workshops. Participants wrote braided poems, weaving together experiences ranging from skiing to first love to the loneliness of middle school. By the 3rd workshop, one 10-year-old who was initially disengaged with the activities stayed after a session's end to write a poem on his hopes for the future. I'd like to think that discovering his poetic voice will empower him to confidently express himself and face any adversity, big or small, as he moves forward in life. The National Student Poets Program impacts people far beyond my hometown. From South Carolina to North Dakota, New Orleans to Colorado, my fellow ambassadors reached out to LGBT youth, Chippewa Native Americans, underserved/at-risk boys, and Hurricane Katrina survivors. Thanks to the program's supporting organizations, as young people, we were able to connect with and spread poetry to communities nationwide. In the month of April alone, we engaged in a combined 12 events and directly impacted thousands of people. We learned from renowned poets such as Terrence Hayes and Paul Muldoon, and passed on this knowledge to inspire young students of different ages and backgrounds. In this way, we served as a bridge between the established adult poetry world and future generations of poets, empowering and engaging as many as possible. My fellow ambassador, Madeleine Lassen, once said, "My role as a national student poet has deepened my faith in poetry's future." And that's how we all feel. I went into the year knowing that I loved poetry, but what really surprised me was discovering that spreading my love for poetry is just as gratifying as the act of writing itself. And that's what the program's outreach is all about. We empower people of different ages, backgrounds, and cultures to express themselves and unite through poetry. In communities nationwide, we use the art form to nurture empathy, foster meaningful connections, and ultimately create powerful celebrations of the human experience. Thank you. Now introducing featured poet Jacqueline Woodson.
Good morning. What an amazing place to be. A room filled with poetry and people who love poetry. I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm so grateful to welcome you, the 2015 class of National Student Poets. It's an honor, Anna and David and Dejan and Chassie and Eileen, to see you here. Your words continue to stay with me long after I've read your poems. In your amazing voices, I see the grace of County Cullen and Lee Young Lee, hear the playfulness of Paul Laurence Dunbar and Gwendolyn Brooks, feel the urgency of Audre Lorde and Tupac Shakur and Lin-Manuel Miranda. The list goes on and on. Your voices are beautiful and beyond your years. And they are here because of those who have come before you. And now it's your time, and you're beautiful and thoughtful and brilliant and ready. Ready to lift your voice and change the world. You are the shoulders the generations of poets coming after you will stand on. Yours is the voice young people need to hear. Audre Lorde said, "Our silence will not protect us. We can stand in our corners, mute as bottles, and we will still be no less afraid." There are too many people, young people, who are afraid to speak, afraid to write, afraid that poetry is not an option. Each of you, maybe with the help of a teacher, a parent, or a friend, or maybe simply by virtue of stubbornness and will, whatever has gotten you here, you've chosen not to be silent. You've chosen to write and speak out. So go out into the world now. Find the ones who deeply believe they don't have this choice. They are in the classrooms with no classroom libraries. They are in the housing projects with no books on their shelves. They are in the homeless shelters where they think they've never met a living poet because they don't know they see one each time they look in their mirror. They don't have mirrors. Maybe not where they live. Maybe not in their world. Go be their mirrors. Show them who they can become. They are the young people whose brilliance goes unrecognized every single day because they're in classrooms with 30 other children, and it is too easy for teachers to look past them through weary eyes. They are failing out of school because math is too challenging, even though the beats that run through their brains are mathematically genius. It doesn't count if the correct oval isn't filled in. Go into those GED centers and show them the world beyond ovals. Go out into the world, be uncomfortable in the spaces you enter so that those you touch in those spaces can speak. Poets are everywhere. On reservations, in housing projects, at after-school centers and Head Start playrooms, poets are in grocery stores worrying about the price of meat. They're in juvenile detention centers missing their mamas. They're in churches and mosques and kingdom halls and temples. They're on the basketball court trash talking and at ciphers beating out poems on their thighs. You are now national student ambassadors. Go find those like you. Let them see themselves through you. Don't be afraid to touch them with your words and let them touch you with theirs. You have social media, a voice, a vision. Use this to open doors for those coming. Walk through this world now, unsilent and unafraid. Let poetry be the voice you use to help others speak, others who were like you once, because once you didn't know how amazing you are. There are so many other young people out there. Go into the world and unsilence them. Through your own grace and talent, show other young people theirs. So everyone else seemed to be a little too shy to drink this water, but I know y'all are thirsty. This is called Bushwick History Lesson. I grew up in the neighborhood of Bushwick in Brooklyn. Before German mothers wrapped scarves around their heads, kissed their own mothers goodbye, and headed across the world to Bushwick. Before the Italian fathers sailed across the ocean for the dream of America and found themselves in Bushwick. Before Dominican daughters donned quinceañera dresses and walked proudly down Bushwick Avenue. Before young brown boys in cut-off shorts spun their first tops and played their first games of skelly on Bushwick streets. Before any of that, this place was called Bostwick, settled by the Dutch and Franciscus the Negro, a former slave who bought his freedom. And all of New York was called New Amsterdam, run by a man named Peter Stuyvesant. There were enslaved people here. Those who could afford to own their freedom lived on the other side of the wall, and now that place is called Wall Street. When my teacher says, "So write down what all of this means to you," our heads bend over our notebooks, the whole class silent, the whole class belonging somewhere, to Bushwick. I didn't just appear one day. I didn't just wake up and know how to write my name. I keep writing, knowing now that I was a long, long, long time coming. Thank you.
Wow. What do you say? What do you say? I'm supposed to close this out, but I'm speechless. This is, I think, one of the most beautiful moments that we have here at the White House. And you all have to agree that we're sitting in this historic place with young people who represent all of America with such talent and passion. This is a special time. This doesn't happen all the time. It should happen more in more special places all around the world, quite frankly. And hopefully we all leave here inspired to do more of this, to lift up these young people and to encourage them and empower them to go out and change the world, because you all clearly can. You will. You are. Jacqueline, thank you for those words for that inspiration you've given them, for the, you know, the words that show them their power, for being that mentor, is beautiful. Ashley, we're so proud of you. You have grown so much. That's the other thing that's wonderful to watch, is like who you guys will be, what your voices will look like in just a year. Ashley is like, you know, you're like a little old lady. Just all self-possessed and clear and confident in a way that, you know, just points out how powerful and impactful this year can be and will be for all of you. Olivia, thank you for that video, because I will say I don't get to see their year. I get to see the beginning and the end. But this program, this year of service, is at the cornerstone of this. This pinning, this day, this is cool, right? You'll remember it, right? You'll tell your kids about it. Don't lose your pins, okay? But it's the work that you're gonna do for the remainder of the year that is really gonna change your whole construct of your lives. So embrace this year. It looks like it's gonna be so much fun. I would trade my coming year for your coming year. I would do that. But again, we are proud of you, very proud of you. And it is always an honor to spend this time with you all and to watch you grow and to hear your words. Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations. You all, thank you for being here. Enjoy. We'll see you next year. Yeah, we will.